Hey y'all, Billy Thompson here. If you're looking to fix up your truck, figure out what that weird noise is, or just learn a thing or two about keeping your car running right, you've come to the right place. I keep it simple, straight up, and hands-on. Go ahead and give this video a like. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And let's get to work. Enough jawing, let's dive in.
Fault code P0723 sounds like output shaft speed sensor circuit intermittent erratic. Often, in OBD2 scanner software, the name may have the English spelling, output shaft speed, OSS, sensor circuit intermittent erratic. Technical description and decoding of error P0723. Diagnostic fault code P0723 indicates an intermittent output shaft speed, OSS, sensor signal. Without an accurate output speed signal, the transmission control module, TCM, it cannot change speed correctly, so this code is set. In electronically controlled transmissions, the output shaft speed sensor, OSS, is located at the end of the transmission in front of the drive shafts or drive axle. The output shaft speed read can be used to determine when to shift, as well as the torque converter timing and the electronic pressure control inside the transmission. If a fault is detected by the transmission control module, TCM, the PCM/ECM can override the values based on other sensors to determine the shift time. Thus, trying to adjust the torque converter and pressure if the information from the OSS sensor is not available. The OSS sensor is also normally used to display the speedometer reading, so the data it contains may not be correct. In some cars, the OSS sensor is in line with the transmission fluid temperature, TFT, sensor. If the TFT sensor or the associated wiring is faulty, the OSS sensor may also malfunction. Therefore, if there are other errors associated with the TFT sensor with the code P0723, look for a possible problem with any of these sensors or the wiring between them. Symptoms of malfunction. The main P0723 fault symptom for the driver is the illuminated MIL, malfunction indicator light. This is also referred to as the check engine or simply check engine light. It can also manifest as the check engine control lamp on the control panel will light up. The code will be stored as a fault. Other related fault codes may also be present. The speedometer or tachometer is not working, or is faulty. Gear changes are difficult. Problems shifting gears. The engine does not accelerate well. Jerky or false ignition at idle or under load. The engine may stall or not start. Reduced engine power. Increased fuel consumption. Error P0723 is quite serious, as the conditions that lead to its persistence can cause damage to the transmission. Causes of the error. The P0723 code could mean that one or more of the following problems have occurred. The output shaft speed sensor, OSS, is faulty. The transmission fluid temperature sensor, TFT, has failed. Open, short-circuited wiring or short-circuited connectors in the circuits of the sensors listed. Sometimes the cause is a faulty PCM module. How to eliminate or clear fault code P0723. Some suggested steps for troubleshooting and correcting error code P0723. Read all stored errors using an OBD2 scan tool. Clear the errors and carry out a test drive to see if error P0723 appears again. If the code appears again, inspect the wires and connectors for damage. Test the output shaft speed and transmission fluid temperature sensor input circuits. If there is a problem, replace the faulty sensor. Flash or replace the PCM if necessary. Diagnosing and solving problems. It's worth first looking for the Technical Service Bulletins, TSB, for your specific make of car with error P0723. If the existing problem has been described, following the instructions can save you time and money in diagnosing and rectifying the problem. Visually inspect all cables and connectors leading to the output shaft speed and transmission fluid temperature sensor. Carefully inspect for abrasions, exposed wires, or broken wires. Also look for melted or otherwise damaged areas. Repair if necessary. Electrical wiring. Check the wiring harness for loose connections, loose wires, or dirty terminals. Disconnect all wiring harness connections from the vehicle, output shaft speed sensor, TFT sensor, and PCM/ECM unit. Using a multimeter on an ohm scale, check for excessive resistance. If the resistance is too high, trace the bundle of wires through the circuit between each connector to determine the cause. If the resistance indicates above the limit, look for broken or damaged wires. Check for an earth fault in the wiring sections by moving the positive or negative conductor to a good earth connection. If there is resistance, there may be a short circuit to earth. The wiring harness should be checked for damage to the wiring harness or areas that could be grabbed by contact with the car chassis. Faulty wiring can often be the cause of error P0723. Output shaft speed sensor. Some vehicles use a plastic gear at the end of the OSS sensor. Remove the OSS sensor and check the condition of the pinion. To determine if any teeth are missing or worn, replace the pinion if necessary. Check the wiring harness for possible signs of damaged cables or loose connections. Measure the resistance by removing the connector and using a digital multimeter adapted to the ohm scale. If the resistance is out of range or above the limit, replace the sensor. Check that the sensor and the PCM wiring harness connector are energized using the factory wiring diagram. If the OSS sensor is on the same line as the TFT sensor, the voltage will vary depending on the temperature of the transmission fluid. Transmission fluid temperature sensor. A faulty transmission fluid temperature sensor, TFT, can also be the cause of error P0723. This is usually seen in vehicles equipped with the TFT sensor installed in line with the OSS sensor. The TFT sensor is also checked for resistance using a multimeter mounted on an ohm scale. If the reading is out of specification or exceeds the limit, replace the TFT sensor inside the gearbox. Check the wiring harness connector for PCM/ECM power, using the factory wiring diagram as a reference. Place a multimeter on the volt scale with the positive lead on the PCM/ECM power cable. And place the negative lead on the ground. Depending on the vehicle model, the voltage reading should be 12 volts or a reference voltage of 5 volts. If the voltage is not within specification, an earth fault may be suspected. They also don't rule out a faulty PCM/ECM or a wiring problem between the gearbox and the PCM/ECM. Fault code P0723, output shaft speed sensor circuit intermittent erratic. In conclusion, understanding fault code P0723 is essential for diagnosing issues related to the output shaft speed sensor circuit. An intermittent or erratic signal can lead to various performance problems, including transmission issues and decreased fuel efficiency. By recognizing the symptoms and knowing how to troubleshoot the problem, you can take the necessary steps to ensure your vehicle operates smoothly. Always remember to consult a professional mechanic if you're unsure about any repairs. Thank you for watching, and stay informed for a better driving experience.